Hi, my name is Amanda Olson, and I'm the instructor for the Math 2410 online calculus course. I just wanted to take a minute to introduce myself and also review how to take tests with you. So for many of you, if this is your first course using WebAssign at MCC, you might not be familiar with how we take tests. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so when you go to take a test, a common question I get asked is, what's the password? And I actually don't give you a password. So what you do is you use a proctoring service called Honorlock. And Honorlock has remote access to your computer, and they enter the password remotely. So when you are ready to take the test, you would go to your Canvas course page. It'll look something like this. You'll click on the Honorlock button. Now, something that you'll notice for my end is that I don't have the Honorlock extension and I'm not on a Chrome browser. So it gives me an error message. You will want to make sure that you're on a Chrome browser. You'll notice I'm on Firefox, so that's why it's not going to work. I'm also talking via Zoom, so I can't access this to show you. But you would click on the Honorlock tab, and from there, you would click on exam 1. That's to take the first exam. I recommend, however, taking the practice exam. Once you go through the prompts with Honorlock to get the proctor set up, that'll include things like showing a photo ID. They want to verify that the person taking the exam is the person registered for the course. And then they'll have you do kind of like a room scan. So I recommend, if you have a device, kind of just doing a good room scan. Some other things is, if you can have it where, and sometimes this is hard, but if you can have it where your hands are shown, that can be helpful to make sure that, you don't have anything under the table that you're using as an outside resource. After you go through those prompts, Honorlock will then prompt you to go to your exam. So from there, you will go to WebAssign. And your WebAssign, of course, will look a little bit different. So let's look at it. It looks something like this. And then you will find online exam 1 or practice exam, or the name of whichever exam. So then you'll click on that and you'll notice assignment restrictions, password protected. This is where the Honorlock proctor will go in and manually enter the password. They have it. It's kept private from you, so you won't get access to the password. So if you send me an email asking for the password, I'm going to just send you this video. Okay, so after you get this set up, you'll have recording while you're taking the test, just like in a classroom, you have a person watching you take an exam. It's okay, it's just a recording, and I don't really view it unless there's some red flags that the proctor will prompt. That being said, it's likely that you will at some point get proctored flags. Don't get alarmed with those. I review it. So if it's something, sometimes it's as simple as you're looking down and you're writing and you're it'll flag you and say that your face is off camera. Again, when that gets flagged, the proctor might come in and say, hey, I need you to do a room scan or some kind of thing. Again, try not to get alarmed. This is very common. And all that you do is you just follow the prompt's directions, and then I would get an alert. I don't automatically just think, wow, you were cheating if I get that alert. All I do is I go in, I view it, I say, oh yeah, they were just concentrating hard on working. Again, it's very common to get flagged. I know sometimes that can cause kind of some anxiety with students, but try to just ignore that, because it really is common and it's not something that alerts me, gives me concern. I do review, videos, and I will let you know if I think that there's a concern, but you would get an alert from me before anything would be bad. Now, if there are going to be times where the proctor talks to you, and then if you are blatantly cheating, like, hey, I'm on my cell phone and I'm calling someone asking for help, that'll get flagged, and then they might not let you proceed with the test. But that's very rare. If you did get to a point though where for some reason proctoring isn't liking it, maybe you have a hat on or you're in a public area, for whatever reason the proctor doesn't like it and flags you and doesn't let you proceed with the test, at that point, stop the exam. Do not submit the exam. and proceed as if you had just finished the exam. Send me an email letting me know what happened, and then I will go and reopen it, and you'll just have to finish it at a later date. That rarely happens, but technology, sometimes there's unfortunate things that can happen. I don't like that to happen, but again, if it does happen, just close the exam, don't submit it, do not submit it, because once you submit it, I can't go in and reopen it. So don't submit it, just close it, and then send me an email letting me know what happened. And then I review it and double check, what's going on, what's the situation. Sometimes, someone could have like their child running around and that flags it where they're like, oh, you might be cheating. And you're like, this is my toddler. So I understand those things. And again, I review it. So try not to let, test anxiety get to you too much. I'm human and I understand technology sometimes is a pain. Okay, but let's say you take the exam, minimal to no flags, everything goes well, you complete the exam. You have 120 minutes or 2 hours if you have standard test time. If you have accommodations, you will have those reflected as well. But after the test time is up, you should have probably some written work. So here's an example. Now mine ideally would say, exam 1, and then have my name and maybe the course, but I'd have some written work that I was doing while I was taking the test. We're not human calculators, and your job is to explain to me how you got it. I really want to see how. I don't care what the final result is. I already know that. I want to see how. I'm looking for a process. So written work is not only expected, but required. So you have written work, please have problems, pretty well numbered. Even if it's just something like used graph, it can just help me if you have your problems numbered. And try to number pretty much all problems. This is, like I said, a random example. It's not an exam work example, but you have written work and you need to turn that in to me. Now there's some ways to do this. The way that I prefer you to do it, the way that I think works best, is to, if you have a smart device, once you've submitted the test, take nice pictures, that can kind of see if you have a scanning app that works really well, but take pictures of the exam with your smart device, take multiple, then upload them to your computer, put them in a Word document, save that Word document as something like first name, last name, exam 1 work. That really helps me, and submit that single Word document file. Canvas does have some apps where they, make it really easy to submit your work. However, when you submit your work with the Canvas photo document submitter, it submits each page separately. And for me, that's really hard to view. It doesn't seem like it, but when I download those files, they kind of go, first they have weird names, and then they kind of go all over in terms of order. So, Johnny's might be the first page, and then all of a sudden I have Sally's second page. And it gets really difficult to kind of organize those, even if, you have them nicely labeled. So I just really ask if you can submit it for one file. That really helps. And it saves me time from having to download multiple files. It's a small thing that really makes a big difference for me getting your test graded faster. If you can do that, I really appreciate it. So that's, again, the way that I prefer you to do it is just take a photo. I realize not everyone has a smart device. So sometimes, you can hold it up and take like a screenshot or something. There's other ways to work with that, but I really recommend if you have a smart device that can take pictures, just take some nice pictures where I can fully see the work, and then just put them in a Word document and submit that whole Word document. After you complete the test, you have an hour to submit the test. Now the Dropbox closes at midnight, and I realize that, you have until midnight to complete the test, and then an additional hour after that. So just make sure you plan accordingly. If you submit it, if you take your test from 10 p.m. to midnight on the day that it's due, and then you submit your work sometime between 12 to 1, when you submit it in the Dropbox, it'll flag it as late. I recognize that. I don't count it as late as long as it's within the hour of when you took the test. The biggest thing is I can't change that due date, because as soon as I put, a 1 hour extension, people see the test due date change, like a day, and then they get confused, and then they think it's due that night at midnight instead of, because from midnight to 1, that's a new day technically. So you can submit your work within an hour of the exam. Don't worry too much about flags. One of the last things I wanted to mention is that everybody is required to submit work for exams, written work for exams, and then learning assignments. You don't have to submit your written work for quizzes, and you don't have to submit your written work for tests or for quizzes and for regular homework. So please, for standard homework, you don't submit your written work. There's no Dropbox. You don't have to email it to me. And that'll save you time from having to submit everything. Some things you just do on your own, kind of like taking notes in class. In my traditional classes, I don't monitor if people take notes. I hope they do. I recommend it, but at the end of the day, I'm not monitoring it. Okay. Same thing with this. So you only submit work for learning assignments and exams. Everything else, you don't have to submit written work. And the last, I guess I said last, but we're going to have another last. I'll also say, make sure you do the practice exam. There is a practice exam. Practice exam just gives you 3 points extra credit on exam 1. Really nice free bonus points. There are some questions on the practice exam. You can literally put puppy in every line for that answer. I'm not looking at your answer. My goal is, can you show me that you know how to make, written work and submit written work as a single file, where it doesn't, it can, like I said, the written work, you can put 1, 2, 3 and write puppy on every line. I don't care. I accept that for practice tests, because practice tests, I just want to see that you can submit written work and that your technology is working so that the exam works. So your practice test is due when the first exam is due, but do it before you take the test, because again, its whole point is to kind of be like a mic check to make sure that all your technology is working. You don't want to be in the zone where you have to take a test. You're sitting down ready to take a test. You've got, limits going through your head, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's not working with my ID. It doesn't like my ID. Now I can't take the test. Now I'm all prepared and I have to go and fix something with my ID. You don't want to be in that situation. So take the practice test first, make sure all your technology is working. And then when you're ready to sit down and take the actual test, you'll be prepared. You'll know that your technology will work and everything will be good. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Feel free to send, video messages in the chats, things like that, so I can get to know faces. As I go out in Omaha, there's many times where I'm like, that person could be my student. I've never seen their face. So it just helps me to get to know you. Feel free to stop by during office hours or make a Zoom appointment if you still have further questions. You can see my availability and we can work something out. All right, good luck everybody on your first exam. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Bye.